It's no secret that I don't like Egyptians. I just don't. They're fucking assholes.
They must be a really nasty people. I haven't heard a single good thing about them.
I do understand the reasons they are the way they are, and I kinda sympathize. That doesn't mean that I don't hate them as a concept and everything they stand for. And while I don't give a shit what you think of that, I will say now that that's not racism, because I don't dismiss someone or treat them with prejudice just for being Egyptian. I hate the idea of that. My attitude to the individual, however, is entirely up to them to determine. Now, as a rule of thumb, the worse living conditions get, the worse people become. So when you put people who already have an inclination to be shitty under abrupt and immense pressure, you're gonna see some new depth to human depravity, which we'll discuss in this video. But before we get into how Egyptian society is doing, we have some short but very important stuff to talk about. So first and foremost, the official exchange rate finally went down a bit, and by a bit I mean 2/3 or around 66%. Now, $1 is officially worth 50 Egyptian pounds instead of 30. Well, 49 point, because when people reminded him, he said it will never get to 50, he changed it just so it's not 50. And some of you might be wondering how this is a good thing. Well, it's not. Not really, but the entire craziness with black market was because of the gap between the rate there and the official one. But this is really just a band-aid to keep shit kinda sorta going for Ramadan. Happy Ramadan, by the way. The fucking little cunt with the firecrackers.
Are your loud neighbors keeping you up at night? Well, just fucking kill them!
Because they are afraid that 2011 will happen all over again. Not afraid enough to like straighten up and let people live, of course, but just enough to toss them a bone every now and then. This being one such case. Ramadan is generally a peak season for food prices due to higher demand. When I saw the prices of the lanterns, yamish, something like a mushy trail mix they make for Ramadan, and Ramadan drinks, I was thanking God I'm Christian. In addition to that, people are also grouped up daily for prayers and generally grumpy from fasting, so the system doesn't want that heat. That's why they're cooling it a little bit, and the circumstances worked in their favor to help them do this too, without giving up anything, the lucky bastards. And I'm 100% certain this is not at all genuine.
I believe you, but my Tommy gun don't.
Simply because they still have all their bullshit restrictions in place.
You gotta do better than that.
If this was a genuine turning point, you would see its effects on a broader level than this. They still have a limit on withdrawals, transactions, and more importantly, they still charge 10% for providing currency. So if you buy something in dollars now, or if you have already during the past 2 weeks and still haven't heard, the bank will charge you at 55 per dollar. And the imports are still restricted and everything, so this is very clearly just a bone to quell unrest a little bit. They just let some people withdraw and do transactions in dollars from the banks now and stopped the dollar checkpoint bullshit.
Don't give me that.
Or really probably just paused, since the UAE stuck their massive cock in Egypt's economy and pumped $10 billion into it, or whatever, in exchange for Ras al-Hikmah, as we previously discussed. But don't get too excited, cause Mr. Garden Gnome will blow it ASAP on more stupid nonsense. In fact, a fair chunk of it was already budgeted for the second phase of Los Angeles from Blade Runner 2.0.
President.
And another fair sum is dedicated for a bunch of metro and train lines, one of which is actually ruining people's life in Alexandria because they closed a vital train line in order to start working on the metro line that's supposedly going to replace it. There are two issues with this. The first is that they currently have no alternative for the line they shut off.
Oh, perhaps I did not think that through.
And the new bullshit they're making to replace it will not be ready for a long time, years perhaps. So the people who relied on it to get around, of which there's far too many by the way, are now expected to just simply go fuck themselves. Complete paralysis in the city after the train line stopped, a clear failure of management at planning for such a phase. This sucks. Every day to get from Rushdie to El Mandara I have to take 2 transportations and wait over an hour to find one. Seriously, the people in charge don't have the least bit of planning for anything. The city has become unbearable from overcrowding. Not to mention the financial load on the people who live in El Mandara and Muntaza who used to take one transport, the train. Now they have to pay for 3 to get to work. And additionally, there is the disaster that the metro is being dug in a city where every inch has buried artifacts. This project was rejected under Mubarak by experts, which is the most hilarious part about this. The project was indeed proposed and then turned down by experts under Mubarak. Not only because it's a shit idea in general, but also because Alexandria has subterranean water everywhere, which would interfere with such a project. And not to mention the flooding it experiences every winter nowadays thanks to the shitty infrastructure not handling all the rain properly. Seems His Majesty is just picking up all the discarded bullshit projects from Mubarak's time and realizing them as his own. First megacity 0.1. Now this. And while we're talking about shit projects, get this. Aside from the Icon Tower in the administrative capital and Al Alamein,
Perfect for making your cock look cool.
Cairo will get its own 2 icon towers with heights of 250 and 375 meters in Tahrir Square, to be finished in the second half of 2028 at the latest. So that's really nice. Not sure about the placement though. I thought they feared Tahrir Square cause, you know, so them putting a gentrified mega high-rise there makes little sense to me, but then again, what do I know?
Quite a lot of planning went into this.
And if you look at this and your first thought was 9/11, hit me up, let's be friends. But wait, all this gets even more infuriating. The government announced it will reduce spending on projects with low urgency and priority. One might look at this and be confused. I mean, they're expanding the new capital and building bullshit left and right with trains to connect it all. If these are not low priority projects, then what is?
Find out on the next episode of
Anything that helps the people, obviously. The Ministry of Health reduces the free healthcare to 25% in the impoverished hospitals. Public hospitals and healthcare units raise their service prices starting Saturday. This price increase follows a new policy for public hospitals and healthcare units that lowered the free healthcare percentage that the state covers. Let me just show you something before we move on. You need to see this. Remember how everyone said Trump was a shit public speaker?
I'm gonna come.
Well, we have someone here that makes Trump look like he has 10 charisma and 100 speech.
Shut up, silly woman.
انت جابتك بقى الفلوس مش كده؟ مش كده يا دكتور؟ طيب يعني واتحولت لك الفلوس خلاص؟ وفين محافظ البنك المركزي؟ أول مرة أشوفك بتضحك. طب احنا بقى يعني يا دكتور مصطفى يعني الدكتور معيط مش موجود مش كده؟ طب الحمد لله. طب احنا يا دكتور مصطفى لازم ناخد يعني هبرة نحطها في الصندوق.
اللي حضرتك تؤمر مليار يا فندم.
مليار ايه يا دكتور؟
اللي حضرتك تؤمر
انت خدت مئات المليارات.
اللي حضرتك تؤمر يا فندم.
ما احنا هنحطهم في الصندوق
طبعا
عشان عوايدهم تبقى
هي
تغطي يعني فيبقى قفزه كبيره يعني. مش انت اللي ماسك الصندوق ده؟
ايوه فندم.
طب خلاص ها اقول انا؟
اتفضل يا فندم.
10.
حاضر يا فندم.
I just can't get over how informal and nonsensical this is. Like, they're all joking and laughing and shit, and that would be fine if we were doing well and everyone was happy. I'd gladly laugh with them, you know, as they say, الرئيس الفرفوش رزق. But we're not. So this is just infuriating. And not only that, like, the translation is not showing you the full extent, but if some random guy talked to me like that, like, it's ghetto as fuck. And nothing wrong with that, of course, but you know, the way someone talks kind of tells you about the person in most cases. So when the president talks like that, it's not a good look. And what's with the crippled kids they have scattered all over? Like, what is this shit? What the fuck, bro? How low are you gonna stoop? Are we really using crippled kids for sympathy points now? Like, they used crippled adults for their election propaganda, and I thought it was pretty disgusting, but at least those were adults, you know? Anyway, education has been getting exponentially shittier, and now it's unaffordable too.
4 كتب خارجية
مرحلة ثانوية عامة والمرحلة الإعدادية 1000 جنيه 1000 جنيه 4 كتب، ودولت مادتين للمرحلة دي ومادتين للمرحلة دي، مادتين ومادتين بس، أنا ما جبناش بقية الكتب. 1000 جنيه تمام. طب الحمد لله يعني لو الواحد مقدر وقادر ان هو يجيب لاولاده. طب اللي مش قادر يعمل ايه؟ اللي مش قادر يوفر لاولاده 4 كتب او كتاب واحد ثمنه 250 جنيه لاولاده، يعمل ايه؟ مع العلم ان في الزاميه على كل المدارس، اي مدرس في اي مدرسه حكومي خاص لغات انترناشونال اي مستوى بيطلب الكتب الخارجيه دي ولا يستعين بكتب الحكومه نهائيا.
I've already explained the external books gig in this video, so go watch it after this one if you're new here. But aside from these books, school supplies in general are becoming unaffordable, and private schools, which are a way more civilized and safe environment for the kids but not any better in terms of education, are a fantasy now for like, I don't know, 80% of the people. I pulled that number out of my ass, don't quote me on it, but it's a lot, that's what I'm trying to say. So public schools, it is for a lot of people, since they charge almost no fees. But even those are becoming hard to keep up with thanks to the increasing cost of school supplies. As the economic crisis worsens, the Ministry of Education has noticed a big increase in the number of students who stop attending, so they decided recently not to expel them and instead trying to regain them through initiatives from businessmen and civil society by giving them clothes and paying school fees for them. But experts think this is not enough, as schools have become a repulsive environment. I'm with the experts on this one. This is a band-aid at the very best, and the issue will continue to fester and get worse as the economy keeps getting worse. Because first, people simply can't live on handouts forever. Second, this puts them at risk of being taken advantage of by these businessmen, and there ain't no law to protect anyone, let alone the poor, who are completely overlooked, being mere numbers on a spreadsheet, if they're included in anything at all.
Hi, my name is Baba Booey, and I don't care about poor people.
And third, the worsening living conditions caused by the economic decline generally affected everyone's morals and temper.
The fuck are you looking at, Master Boy?
And that includes teachers, and it reflects on the kids with bigger impact, I would say. Hence, schools becoming repulsive. And it's not only about money either. Some people can't get their kids into private schools, even if they can afford it. There was an uneducated man who applied for his kid in a private school, and the boy got rejected because his parents are uneducated. So he told them, I'm bringing him here so he grows up with an education, unlike me.
That's why I'm here.
This whole rejecting kids because of their parents' education level thing is disgusting. Language schools don't accept kids until they interview the parents in English and assess their level, and it's a whole big deal. Now, I get the interview bit. You don't want trouble in your neat upper class school, that's totally valid, but why the fuck are you assessing the parents' education? I get it if they assessed like their morals or their attitude. I'm 100% down for that, but education, why is that relevant? It's just pure classism.
I have a request.
Look at you.
You're broke! You're fucking poor!
Go now and never return.
And the argument that they won't be able to help the kids if they're not educated themselves is dog shit.
Shut the fuck up.
That's the school's job. If you're charging 20k plus a year from every single student, I expect your teachers to do their absolute damnedest to educate the kids so they don't need any external input. But that's not the case, of course. Most schools charge these insane sums and then do the bare minimum anyway because the kids take private classes outside the school, because that's just what everyone does and it's become the norm that everything is balanced around. So all that you pay for school is essentially just paid for the certificate you get from them at the very end, and like maybe 10% of education. The other 90% is on you to find, on your own, elsewhere. Oh, also, about a couple of weeks ago, some teacher in Sharia, I think, I forgot what governor it was in, kidnapped a kid for ransom and accidentally killed him. That happened. So yeah, the rate of Egyptian illegal immigrants is at an all-time high, which makes sense. I mean, just look at how we're living here. Despite all the risks, whether getting scammed, just getting lost and dying at sea, getting deported to start all over again with no money because you blew it all to get out, getting taken advantage of in your new location, and so much more. And boy, the people who do make it there, are they fucking ecstatic about it.
شباب مصر بابا بوي خليتهم مشيوا من مصر ورموا نفسهم في البحر عشان يرتاحوا من اللي انت عملته. بابا بوي كل اللي بيموت في البحر والله في رقبتك يا بابا بوي. انت واللي معاك حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل. شفت لما طلعوا، شفت البلاد التانية بتستقبلهم ازاي. بابا بوي شباب مصر، شباب مصر بابا بوي اللي مجوعهم، شوف بيعملوهم ازاي، شوف مش بلادهم اللي بتفرمهم وهم فيها. حسبي الله ونعم الوكيل. الشباب بيغنوا بشرة خير عشان طفشهم من البلد ومشاهم من مصر وفرحانين ان هم مشوا من مصر والصليب الاحمر واخدهم والامور تمام واحنا سيبنا لك مصر وبشرة خير لقيناها بره مصر يا بابا بوي والشباب مشغلين لهم بشرة خير بعد عن مصر يا بابا بوي طفشتهم وغلت لهم الحياة بابا بوي.
This is not me advocating for illegal immigration, of course. I totally understand why people do it and I sympathize, but I'm still not endorsing it unless there is literally nothing left to live or try for, in which case, well, it's like just skydiving with no parachute off a building, but with a chance that you start fresh somewhere better, so I would take those odds in that situation. But illegal immigrants do face a bunch of abuse, whether they are actually trouble or not, and even before they make it to their destination. And the more of them there is, the less anyone cares about them, and consequently the more abuse they face. 160 young men and teenagers are held by armed militias who demanded ransom from their parents, who sold all they own to send their kids off on an illegal immigration boat from Libyan coasts to Europe. The kidnappers in Libya have not even an ounce of mercy or humanity towards Egyptian, and it has happened before that they killed hostages in 2014 and 2015. We demand quick action and rescue of these young men before they're killed. Nothing's gonna happen, obviously. If the government gave a shit, they wouldn't have ended up resorting to getting out like this in the first place. But this is just an example of what can very possibly happen along that road. I just felt the need to include this after the previous segment to give you a full picture. People just disappear along that path all the time. Are you gay?
Why are you gay?
Don't be gay.
Why should someone be gay?
Being gay is bad.
So while you are here, don't be gay. I know it can be tempting sometimes, but don't do it, huh? Don't be gay.
The Supreme Court of Egypt has decided that being gay is grounds for termination from your job. And well, from existence, but that's not in the written law and has been the case forever, it's not new. If we ignore how ridiculous this is and base our thinking on the fact that freedom in Egypt does and will not ever exist, this law is generally harmless because Egypt is already a big closet to begin with.
Egypt.
Science was already fucked and he thought to himself, what a mess.
Except the text indicates that there doesn't need to be any evidence to support the claim. Suspicion or a report is enough, apparently.
So yeah, you're gay.
And the thing with this type of laws is that they are applied selectively. Someone could be recording having 15 men run a train on him and walk away, if he still can't walk anyway after that. Or a group of girls could film the Human Centipede 3 near the pyramid and the cops probably just let them go for an uncut version of the raw footage. With the right amount of connections and luck, you can get away with so much here, but there is never a guarantee. The real issue with this is that it can be weaponized, as it needs no proof whatsoever to arrest or get someone fired. That's kind of the first thought many Egyptians have whenever a new law is issued. How do I weaponize this, and how do I defend myself from this? Now anyone who's got beef with someone or wants their position can accuse them of being homosexual to get them fired. No investigation or evidence. Great guys, destroy social peace harder. Okay, now let's get into the bad news.
What did you say, nigga?
Yes, all that shit was the good news, or, well, the less bad news.
Hell no, man, what the fuck?
So there's been this massive outrage in Egypt recently over a college girl called Naira Salah, aged only 19, who committed suicide, or got murdered more likely, in El Arish.
If I had a nickel for every time
a girl called Naira got murdered in an Egyptian university,
I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it happened twice, right?
Let's get serious now. So what's all this about? The story in short is that there was a disagreement between Naira and her colleague Shuru. So Shuru took photos of Naira in the shower and gave the photos to Taha, Shuru's lover and their colleague in college. He threatened to expose her on the year's group chat, and according to him, Naira begged him not to, but he insisted on it, that he even made a poll on the group chat on when to publish the photos. So Naira couldn't handle the stress and died or committed suicide. This is the piece of shit named Shuru. And this shithead is Taha. And both of these kids just exude evil, like, just fucking look at them. This whole thing was allegedly because Shuru got word that Naira was talking shit about her behind her back. Whether this is true or not is unclear and honestly irrelevant, but my personal opinion is that it wasn't true. Naira looks like she was genuinely just a sweet girl who tried to lay low. And this shows through her father's response, which I'll show you in a bit. It's very clear they're not troublemakers and just want to stay out of trouble, but trouble wants them anyway. This text allegedly was between Naira and Shuru before the whole ordeal. Naira is the one in green. Is this stuff in the group about me? I won't hurt you in your education or the dorm this time, but I swear to God, if my name comes out of your mouth again, you'll see another side of me. Shuru, I'm sorry for something that I didn't do, I swear. But I am sorry if word got to you of something bad that I've said. But I swear to God, I never said anything. Please, please don't let her, Shuruk's mom, hurt me, and I promise that
I will never talk about you again.
Mom says if you don't apologize to me, Habiba, Mariam, and Wala, I assume her gang, on the group chat within 15 minutes, don't come back crying because it's gonna get much worse. There were frantic and vicious attempts to cover up this whole ordeal that even the college was complicit in. Urgent and important. It is strictly forbidden to write anything on social media about the college or any issues within it, and to overstep boundaries with words or actions on or off campus or on social media, and rules and policies will be applied on any who infringe. This is the college agent threatening the students who are aged 18 to 19, by the way, not to talk about their friend who just got murdered, their other friend who murdered her, or the third piece of shit who blackmailed her with nudes, which by the way are not even anything sexual, it's just her in the shower without her knowledge either, if they're even real at all, not a bluff. The fact that something so benign terrified her this much, and rightfully so, I'm not saying she overreacted, is very telling of how shit this society is. This is the piece of shit agent, by the way. And not only did he try to suppress the issue, he allegedly even turned Naira down when she went to him for help. This is supposed to be an anonymous contact who provided some details on an issue to one of the people involved. Good morning, I have to let you know something else. The girl, rest in peace, went to the college agent and told him. He told her you're no match for Shuru, her father is an officer and you can never know what he could do to you. And the girl told the agent she was getting threatened. Despite that, he didn't do anything and he scared Naira. I want you to let people know so he can get reprimanded. I wish I could write this, but I can't, unfortunately, because this came from one of the professors in the college who were also threatened by the agent, the dean, and the university president. Please post this without my name. Feel free to believe this, or don't. I have no way to verify or deny it, but I personally believe it. Educational staff, from professors all the way up to the minister himself, do not give a single fuck about their students. Even if they do, they only do it as long as it won't jeopardize their personal interests in the slightest or cost them too much effort. Exceptions exist, of course, this is a generalization, I know. They may be abundant even, but this is the general rule, and the good apples are more or less forced to deal with this somehow. Aside from that, a lot of the tweets I had saved about this topic got deleted, so that's also pretty sketchy. But ultimately, shit did come out to the light, and the social media outrage forced, well, some action, not too much. Breaking a security source. The investigation of 6 students and the suspension of an officer in the case of Naira Salah, EDyukAYshun University student. The student, Shuruk's father, who is a police major, has been suspended from work until the investigations end. A medical source in EDyukAYshun General Hospital confirmed that the student was brought to the hospital and transferred to the hospital's reception department for disturbance in her consciousness level, a sharp decline in blood pressure, and low pulse, resulting from allegedly ingesting an unknown amount of an unknown poisonous substance. First aid measures were done and she went into intensive care and was given the appropriate medications, but she died as her condition worsened. Leading social media figures launched the hashtag EDyukAYshun Students Right and a campaign to punish those responsible for her death. And a lot of people interacted with it, from the college and her friends. The students confirmed in circulating posts that there was a disagreement between the student and one of her female colleagues following a verbal argument between them that took place in the presence of some of the female students in the dorm, some of which have stated that her colleague took pictures of her without her knowledge in the shower to blackmail and bully her for the argument they had. She sent her a lot of threats that she'll expose her by publishing the photos on social media, demanding an apology from her, to which the student obliged and apologized on a private WhatsApp group for the college students to end the argument. Sources within the university stated that the incident is under investigation by security authorities, and the university will release a statement about the incident after investigations conclude, and that the university is following the investigations and has no comment on what's being said on social media. Additionally, the college administration never received any complaints about the girl or her colleagues, and that she was an excellent student in high school and has a good record. The university is just like this, basically. And they posted a half-assed, soulless warning that I'm not even gonna bother reading out or translating. And this is an example of the tweets on the aforementioned hashtag. There's a student called Naira who committed suicide in EDyukAYshun University because some people were threatening her by publishing private photos of her, and the university is trying to cover it up. Can you comprehend that a human killed herself because of some malicious people who don't care about the repercussions of their actions, and the university is keeping quiet on it as if this girl who committed suicide is not a person whose existence has value? And the plot thickens. So word came out that she was in fact poisoned and did not commit suicide as claimed. Here's an interview with her brother after the fact.
نيرة ما انتحرتش. الناس بتتكلم ان هي انتحرت بحبات غلة، بس حبات الغلة لو بحثت على النت هتلاقي ان حبات الغلة اصلا يعني ساعة واحدة وتكون هي ميتة. نيرة من الساعة 7 بالليل لحد الساعة 3 قبل الفجر، وهي تعبانة وميتة الساعة 3 الفجر. فلو حبيت غلة وانتحرت فعلا كان ماتت من
يعني
أول.
في ناس كتير.
بعدين العريش عامة العريش أصلا ما فيش فيها الكلام ده، مفيش حاجة، مفيش فيها حبات غلة ولا الكلام ده كله. فنيرة ما ماتتش انتحار.
ايوه، يعني الكلام اللي بيتداول عبر مواقع التواصل ان هي انتحرت بحبايه غله غير صحيح.
غير صحيح.
طيب عايزين نوضح سبب الوفاة، ازاي اكتشفتوا بعد وفاتها اللي كان على موبايلها؟
احنا اكتشفنا ان فتحنا موبايلها لقينا رسائل بينها وبين واحده صاحبتها وواحد وبيتكلموا الابتزاز اللي هو الكلام اللي جت الرسائل اللي كانت على النت السكرينات دي، وان هي عاملين بوت ويقولوا انه هننزل النهارده هننزل بكره مش عارف ايه والكلام ده كله. ولقينا كمان رسائل بعتها لهم قبل ما تموت بنص ساعه، وان هم هينزلوا يتقابلوا تقريبا عشان يصلحوا الامور بينهم وبين بعض وكده. رجعت كلمت مامتها وقالت لها ان هي تعبانه وترجع، ومن هنا حصل الحوار.
يعني نقدر نقول ان هي تعرضت لحادث ابتزاز بشع.
ايوه.
طيب هل صنفت الجريمه؟ هل هو تسمم، انتحار، قتل؟
تسمم بمادة،
لكن ما حدش لسه عارف.
لا لسه.
طيب هل هيجرى اعاده التحقيق مره ثانيه؟ قدمتوا طلب؟
قدمنا طلب ان شاء الله، اجراءات هتتفتح تاني وكل حاجه هنشوف الحقيقه. يعني احنا عايزين حقها قانونا بس.
قول لنا كل طلباتكم ايه؟
احنا عايزين حقها بس، مش عايزين اي حاجه غير حقها بس بالقانون.
زميلتها وزميلها هل تم القبض عليهم او
لا لسه؟
We already know she died of poisoning, but they said it was self-inflicted with this thing that I've never even heard of before, so I can't speak on it. So earlier I mentioned that her dad's a poor, peaceful man. Here's an interview where he details the night he found out his daughter had died.
معانا فوق طلعت لبنتي، جيت اخش البنت ما رضتش تدخلوني ليه؟ ايه يا جدعان في ايه؟ انتوا بتقولوا تعالوا خدوا بنتكم. انا بس ساكت شويه في شويه، نزلت تحت النباتيه لقيت امين تورته بيقول لي نعمل لك محضر. قلت له عشان ايه؟ لقيت مع المحضر جنبه منه كده تقرير ايه؟ طبي. تقرير وفاه. تقرير وفاه. طب في تقرير وفاه يعني هي ميت؟ سيبيني بقى مش عامل اي حاجه بقى لما تلاحظوا في ايه؟ بنتي الاول. طلعت على الدور الثالث الاسانسير، طلعت معايا برد المشرفه معانا فوق، وقفت بره ورحت زي الباب وداخل لقيت بنتي نايمه متعلق في بقها الخراطيم. ببص قرت بنتي تلاجة تلج خلاص ميت. اسفعك. قمت راجع تاني بقى، حيزت بقى، عملت حساب كتير ونزلت تحت على النباتيه. قلت له بس من الاخر كده اي فيلم اي حكايه اي روايه ما تلزمنيش دلوقتي. انا يلزم دلوقتي ان تخلصيني اقول لك امضي لك على اقرار عشان اخد بنتك فين.
انت كان في الوقت ده اللي يهمك ان انت تاخد بنتك بقى خلاص. يعني
هي مسمومه ولا
هي بعيد عن البلد وانت ما بينك وما بينهم ساعات طويله، فانت عايز تاخد بنتك عشان تدفنها في الوقت ده. تمام.
فكان في الوقت ده ما اتقابلتش في اي حاجه غير اداره الجامعه، زمايلها لا اللي هم معاها في الاوضه اللي بتنام فيها. اي حد من زمايلها ما شفتش حد. لقيت الصبح بقى زمايلها كلها جايين هنا ضياره، جايين الجامعه جم الجامعه. ما سابوناش الا لما سلنا الجنازه ووصلونا. يا بابا صلاح اللي انت عاوزه احنا من ايدك دي لايدك دي. طب يا جدعان ايه اللي حصل؟ فكان في بدايه الكلام ضابط قال لي بنتك جايه في حاله تسمم، شوف انت عاوز ايه وانا اعمله. قلت له اولا انا ما عرفت اقول اتهم حد ولا اعرف ايه اللي حصل. انا جاي من بلد لبلد وفي نفس الوقت بنتي ميته. كل اللي في دماغي الوقت ان انا اخدها واروح في حاله تسمم في حاله بتاع.
Some people came at him for being so timid, saying he's not man enough or didn't have her back as he should have. Let's agree that a girl who knows her home has actual men in it, if someone blackmails her, they'll be the first she goes to get her right for her. But when she knows that there isn't any and they will side against her with the offender, she will comply with the blackmail. I absolutely get this argument and I even agree with it. Like, yeah, the family is an added threat in many situations for the girl, and sometimes the only threat even, hence honor killings. But I don't think it applies in this specific situation, and other people seem to think so too. What about a girl who knows her parents will forgive her but also knows they're helpless and can't do anything and is scared for them to get hurt from a family so powerful that even the university administration sided against her when she went to them, and she feels that if she goes to authority nobody will protect her? What's she supposed to do? And is that also her parents' fault? On the point of blackmail, 1. Consider that her enemy's father is an officer, so it'd be dangerous for the family. 2. The university administration is in on it, so it's a security threat and a threat to her academic future. Not to mention the blackmail itself and exposing them in a very degrading and humiliating way for the girl. What you're saying is generally correct, but I don't think the girl's parents could have done anything to protect her in this specific situation. As for that bitch Shrew, I guess she overestimated daddy's rank. That girl named Shuru, her father came and took her and all her papers from the university, and she took all her belongings the same day the suicide happened, and she erased all her photos she took in El Arish and later deleted all her TikToks. So my guess is that they're trying to disappear and pretend this just never happened. And the fear of the officer and his family is justified, of course. The only way I can put this in a way that Westerners can fathom: pretend Egypt is New Mexico and that we're all
Snickers.
I'm sorry, but this is the only close comparison. And it's hilarious that it's New Mexico, of all 50 states. Let me show you something.
بالكهرباء عندها بتقول له لو جبتها لك هشيلك.
خليك واقف، لو ذاكر مش بالذمك خليك واقف. ابويا وعبيد واجي طلع كلهم مين امي اللي خلعت.
استغفر الله العظيم. ايه ده، انت مسلم ولا كابتن؟ ايه؟
ابعت لي ضابط بينزل شارع فيصل دلوقتي. حبست له العربيه واديت الفلوس بتاعه وواقف لي بيبصق عليا في الشارع. ابعت لي بينزل دلوقتي في فيصل دلوقتي. عند ابراج سعود.
This bitch is brandishing a taser, yelling and cursing out even God himself, which is the ultimate no-no here. Like, you saw how everyone responded to that.
Hey yo, what the fuck? Shut your bitch ass up.
Just because her father is a cop and not even that high of a rank. And she's a woman, no less. You know how hostile this society is to women.
Females, I thought they were extinct.
So, unless the issue at hand blows up really big, they will win. The only chance against them is social media, or even better, if you can, international pressure. In which case, they throw their guy under the bus to wash their hands of it all and look good in the process, like, look, we uphold justice, even against our own. Which was my first thought when I looked into Naira's situation. If the cop was a high rank, why is his daughter even in a public college? That just doesn't happen. But the people are so afraid that this does not matter to them. Just avoid cops and lay low. And our guy talks about it and some other incidents, sharing this opinion, which we'll get to in a bit. And while we're on this topic, I want to show you something both very satisfying and very depressing. The gentleman I'm about to show you is Bahgat Sahaber, an Egyptian content creator, kind of, who is with the Muslim Brotherhood and always live streams from Times Square in NYC. He's known for his colorful vocabulary and unfiltered criticism of the system, and you know what? I respect it. It also makes for great meme clips.
بعبصوا بعض في حتة تانية يا ولاد المتناكة. ومفيش غير الخرابة دي. ما الدنيا مليانة خرابات يا ولاد الواد.
So on one fateful day, he is greeted by an army lieutenant general's wife and her sons while recording.
لما طلعتوا يا كسوفة ارجل منك يا اخويا، ده ارجل منك والله العظيم، ارجل منك. قعدت جبت اخوك ارجل منك. جبت الرجاله في الصبح. تعالى وريني نفسك يا ابن المكان. طب مد ايدك يا كسوفة، مد ايدك يا ابن المكان، مد ايدك يا عاصي يا ابن الواسع، مد ايدك يا كسوفة. انت اسمه بفوقك. يلا يا ابن المتاكل تخوف. عيب بقى. يلا يا معرف يا ابن الوسخه منك ليه؟ فاكر نفسك في مصر يا كصامك؟
يلا نمشي من هنا.
فكرين نفسك في مصر يا كصامك؟
انت فاكر
يا كصامك اهو يا ابن المنتاج. يا كصامك من واحد ولا من 3 مصر يا ابن المنتاج. يا عرس يا ابن الوسخ. يلا يا منتاج يا ابن الوسخ منك ليه؟ يا معرسين يا شراميط يا سيساوية يا خوالات يا منتاكين.
عرس اديله فلوس.
بيدوني نفسه فلوس. يلا يا ابن المنتاج. يلا يا كصامك يا ابن المنتاج. This guy, come on. This guy said, hello. Look at this motherfucker.
He's insulting us without any purpose.
Yeah, and these are the witnesses.
Because you are Egyptian.
Ask them. Ask everyone. Fucking bitch. Ask all these people. Ask all these people. Look at this. Ask all these people.
He cannot insult people. He can't.
You cannot insult me. Insult my mother. You cannot do this. This is not America. This is not America. يلا يا ولاد الوسخة يا شراميط. يلا يا ولاد الوسخة يا شراميط. يا كصامك ما رجعها لك تاني. يلا يا شراميط. يا عم ايش تمشي بالله.
بس يا خول. شوف مراتك بتبقى بعمل يا خول يا وسخ. بتقبلها بالساعة يا وسخ. انت بتاكل مراتك بالساعة يا وسخ. مش واحد على الوساخة يا
يلا يا شرموط.
شرموطة مين يا خول؟
يا اشرف من كصامك. يا شرموط يا منتاكين يا وساخ. يلا يا كلاب يا ولاد الوسخة. يلا يا شراميط يا ولاد الوسخ. يلا يا شرموطة لمي كلابك من هنا. يلا يا شراميط يا كلاب يا وساخ. يا وساخ يا ولاد الكلب. فاكر نفسك في مصر يا كصامك؟ Touché, Bahgat. You didn't have to rub it in like that, man. Anyways, back to Naira. Normally people signed against the girl on these cases, against all evidence, logic, and morality, especially the men. But if there's one thing this society hates more than its own women, it's cops. So when it's cops versus a woman, they immediately know whose side they're on. If someone here is a lawyer willing to take up the girl's case, after her parents file the case, please contact me and I'll cover all his fees. And then someone responds by retweeting a tweet from a lawyer who already offered to take the case. Get me in touch with Naira's parents and God willing, I'll get justice for Naira who died unjustly. And I will fight to my last breath. You know, a little dramatic, sure, but this is great. I love the enthusiasm and I wish this was the norm. And when it became clear that this is boiling down to a social media war, our lovely Ligan sprung to action, trying to smear Naira the only way Egyptians know how to. Which is A, irrelevant, B, disgusting, grow up, and C, fucking tasteless. She just died, like, Jesus fucking Christ.
في حملة قذرة جدا عملاها اللجان الإلكترونية على هاشتاج اسمه زملاء نيرة يكشفون حقيقتها. الهاشتاج ده طالع ترند في مصر من النهاردة الصبح، في حوالي 100 اكاونت فيك، اكاونتات لجان إلكترونية، وهثبت لحضرتك دلوقتي هي لجان إلكترونية ازاي. الاكاونتات دي كلها بتتكلم على بوست واحد، على نغمة واحدة، بيرددوا حاجة كوبي اند بيست. ايه الحكايه؟ قال نيره الله يرحمها كانت على علاقه بولد اسمه سمسم عامل دليفري، وكان بينهم صور خارجه، وان مفيش بنت اصلا صاحبتها صورتها في الحمام اللي هي بنت الضابط، واخد بالك؟ البوست ده كله معمول عشان بنت الضابط شروق احمد كمال يطلعوها براءه من الموضوع. وقال ان هو كان في مشاكل وورق وصور وحاجات، فنيره انتحرت. عايزين يرجعونا لروايه الانتحار تاني، لان الموضوع وصل ان هو جريمه قتل، وانه بيقولوا ان البنت دي حطت لها السم. فكره انك تعرف ان الهاشتاج ده طالع بجد ترند اورجانيك ولا لجان الكترونيه مش محتاجه واحد خبير عشان يعرفه. كفايه بس انك تعمل كده تحليل ل 10 15 اكونت من دول، تلاقيهم مشاركين في ترندات او هاشتاجات كانت ترند للجان قبل كده، زي مثلا الشرطه المصريه بر الامان، ترند وهمي فجاه طلع بيشتغل عليه برضو 150 حساب بيرددوا نفس الكلام، بيكتبوا نفس الرساله من غير تغيير. وكمان مثلا لما حفيد حسني مبارك كتب حاجه عن جده فيدخلوا يشتموه يكلموا يعملوا هاشتاج اسمه ممتلكات عائله مبارك. نفس الاكونتات اللي بتتكلم على نيرة في الهاشتاج ده هي اللي اتكلمت في هاشتاج الشرطه بر الامان، وهي اللي اتكلمت في هاشتاج ممتلكات عائله مبارك، وكانت بتشتم علاء مبارك وبتشتم حسني مبارك والكلام ده كله. هتعمل تتبع للاكونتات دي هتكتشف انها مش حقيقيه. اكونتات بتطلع واحد اسمه احمد موسى، واحده اسمها سحر الهواري، واحد اسمه مش عارف ايه، اكونتات ملهاش وجود، حاطين اي صوره محمد صلاح، صوره علم مصر، صوره مش عارف كذا، في ناس حاطه صور شخصيات لكن مش حقيقيه. السؤال هنا هو ليه يا جماعه النطاعه دي؟ ليه يا جماعه الوقاحه دي؟ لو بنت الضابط متورطه تتحاسب، ولو ابوها الضابط متورط يتحاسب. انما فكره انك تعمل لي هاشتاج عشان تشوه بنت ماتت مقتوله او بتقولوا انها منتحره، الموضوع في ايد النيابه. لا، وعشان يحسسك انه مش لجنه كلهم كاتبين العباره دي في الاخر خالص، ونتمنى النيابه تحقق في الموضوع بقى عشان تظهروا حقيقتها. حقيقه ايه؟ الله يخرب بيوتكم. حقيقه ايه؟ البنت ماتت يا مجرمين يا سفله، البنت ماتت، البنت اتقتلت، في بنت ضابط متورطه. انتوا بترمخوا على ايه؟ السوشيال ميديا مهمه، افضلوا اكتبوا. هم راحوا للسوشيال ميديا لان عارفين لما اتكلمنا الدنيا اتقلبت على دماغهم. افضلوا اتكلموا يا جماعه، ووقفوا في وش الحملات الحقيره اللي بتحصل على الانترنت من لجان تبع الامن الوطني ولا تبع الضابط ابو شروق احمد كمال، لان اللي بيحصل ده عيب وقله ادب، ما يصحش كده. وما ينفعش النيابه العامه تتاثر بشغل الشوارع والحواري واللجان الالكترونيه ده. المفترض ان مصر بلد اكبر من كده، اكبر من تحركها شويه لجان الكترونيه قاعده ورا اجهزه بيدفع لها فلوس عشان تشوه سمعه بنت اتقتلت او ماتت، واللي متورط في ده بنت احد الضباط في وزاره الداخليه.
The public prosecution announced the arrest of the owner of accounts on Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube for spreading fake news about El Arish student incident, saying he claimed the suspects took inappropriate photos of the deceased student, threatened her with publishing them, and then killed her with poison after she went to the university administration for help, and restricting the administration from helping her using their influence. So, according to the government, which we all should totally trust, the whole story was apparently fake news perpetrated by that one guy they arrested.
You are fake news.
I guess Naira just up and killed herself for no reason whatsoever, just as her life was starting. Jokes aside, this is very obviously an scapegoat, and that bitch Shrew has simply vanished, so my guess is that they want to sweep this whole thing under the rug, and that they're not planning on doing Naira or her family any justice, which is not surprising, but still very upsetting. Lastly, as promised, our guy talked about this and its socio-political aspects, as well as another recent incident that I think is related in the sense that the absence of law and proper authority is the sole reason it even happened.
المواقف دي كل المصريين معرضين ان هم يحصل لهم حاجه زي كده، فانا عشان كده حريص ان انا اشرح الحادثتين سياسيا. الكلام بقى اصل ابوها ضابط البنت الثانيه اللي هي المفروض اللي هي زعيمه العصابه اللي تسببت في وفاتها يعني، وهي دي اول نقطه انا حابب اتكلم عنها. يعني اول حاجه الحسابات اللي بتقعد تدعي انها تسرد الحقائق دي، لقيت منتشر كتير قوي ان دي عشان بنت ضابط كبير واخوها مش عارف ضابط جيش. انا اول لما بشوف الكلام ده يعني في حاجات كده ما تنفعش تبقى مظبوطه، في حاجات كده انا ما مقتنعش بيها ان هي مظبوطه، لان هي وهي دي الفكره ان الناس مش عارفين خبايا النظام عامله ايه. اللي بيقول حاجه زي كده سواء بحسن نيه او بسوء نيه هو بيضر القضيه، ما بيفيدهاش في حاجه. انا من غير ما اعرف اي تفاصيل لسه، من غير ما اعرف اي حاجه، مفيش بنت ضابط كبير، الضابط الكبير اللي هم بيدعوا ان هو بقى ايا كان بقى، ولا في امن الدوله ولا في المخابرات ولا في ضابط جيش كبير، الطبقه دي مش هيودي بنته طب بيطري العريش، مش هيحصل خالص. طب بيطري العريش ديت كليه من كليات الغلابه اللي هم برضو بيستووا على بعض، حتى نفس الغلابه دول بيستووا على بعض. فانا ما استبعدش يكون فعلا ابوها امين شرطه مثلا ولا صول، يعني ده هيبقى كبير وحاجه كده من غير ما اعرف تفاصيلهم هم ايه. الكلام اللي اتنشر على السوشيال ميديا ده بتاع ضابط كبير ومش عارف ايه، ده كلام فارغ خالص. وانا اقول لكم هو ليه انا شايف ان ده بيضر الموضوع، او يعني بيساعد النظام في ايه وبيساعد اعلام النظام في ايه. الناس اللي بتحب تافور في كل حاجه، احساس ان انا دايما لازم ابالغ، الناس مش هتصدقني او الناس مش هتقدر قيمه الحاجه غير لما ابالغ وافور قوي. الحاله دي انا شايفها غلط. المبالغات ديت انا شايف ان هي دايما بتجيب نتيجه عكسيه، دايما بتصب على الاقل في مصلحه النظام. في اكتر من رساله منشوره ما بينها وما بين صحابها، انما في رساله انا شايف ان هي دي اهم رساله بتكلم حد يا اما من قرايب صحابها او حتى طالبه زميلتها تقريبا، واضح ان هي بتستنجد بيهم، ان هي في ورطه وبتستنجد بيهم، والتانيين بيردوا عليها اللي هم زمايلها او اهل زمايلها برد قطعي، احنا مالناش دعوه، احنا عارفين ان انت مظلومه وكل حاجه، واحنا عارفين ان الموضوع صعب والموضوع شائك يعني، بس احنا مالناش دعوه بيك. عايز احافظ على اختي ولا انا عايز احافظ على مش عارف ايه، وخرجينا بره الموضوع ده خالص. الرساله طبعا مش واضحه هي ايه، بس واضح ان هم كانوا يقدروا يساعدوها بحاجه حتى مساعده معنويه، ما هياش مش اكتر من كده، ان هو بس يدافعوا عنها بالكلام، يقولوا حاجه حصلت ومع ذلك كان الرد قاطع ان هو ملناش دعوه. وهي دي المصيبه بقى الحقيقيه، دي الحاله المصريه اللي انا بتكلم فيها، ان كل الناس لغايه النهارده فاكر ان هو لما يمشي جوه الحيطه هو كده امن. ويعني انا اظن قلت الكلام ده كتير قوي، مفيش حد امن، مفيش حتى الفئات الامنه، مفيش حاجه اسمها فئات امنه خلاص في مصر، مفيش الكلام ده خلاص، ما بقاش في حد امن. وهي اول الناس لما يعني تاخد بالها، اول الناس لما تدرك الموضوع ده بيتهيألي الناس هتبدا تفوق. دي موقف صعب قوي على حد ان هو ابنه ولا بنته اللي عندها 18 19 سنه تروح كده في حاجه وهي ماشيه جوه الحيطه، وهو ماشي جوه الحيطه وطول عمره مربيها ان هي تمشي جوه الحيطه. من ضمن الحاجات كمان اللي شبه مؤكده ان هي راحت تشتكي لوكيل الكليه فقال لها شروق كمال دي بنت ظابط ومش هتقدري تعملي معاها حاجه. وهي دي برضه نفس الحاله اللي هو النظام حريص ان هو الكلام ده مش مظبوط على فكره ولا حاجه في حالات كتير، يعني في ظابط صغير ولا ظابط في مكان مش مهم، وحتى دلوقتي حتى في الوقت اللي احنا فيه ده كان ممكن يقدروا ياخدوا حقهم. بس هي الحاله العامه اللي عند الناس اللي النظام عايز دايما يغذيها ان احنا قادرين عليكم وان احنا هنقدر نقمع وهنقدر نعمل اللي احنا عايزينه. يا عم دي بنت ظابط ولا بنت صول ولا بنت مش عارف ايه، هنعمل معاها مش هنقدر نعمل معاها حاجه. حتى احنا بنتكلم ده وكيل الكليه، راجل المفروض دكتور في الجامعه، وراجل على الاقل ما هواش ابن العصر ده، يعني شاف جزء الى حد ما من النظام، فممكن يكون عنده استعداد يعمل حاجه. طبعا هي الموضوع فروق فرديه، بس هي الحاله العامه دي خلاص بقى احنا هنعمل ايه يعني، مالناش دعوه، مفيش حاجه نقدر نعملها. ليه بقى انا بقول الكلام ده كله موضوع ظابط كبير ومش ظابط كبير ليه بيجيب نتيجه عكسيه؟ لان اهو انا بيتهيألي الاعلام المصري من امبارح وهم شغالين تحقيقات في القضيه والنائب العام مهتم. يعني النائب العام مهتم ده شغله، ايه المميز في الموضوع ان انا انشر حاجه زي كده؟ ده العادي يعني، المفروض يعني ما وروش حاجه ثانيه يعملها. النظام بيستغل الحاجات دي في ايه بقى؟ بسبب الناس قاعده تقول ده ظابط كبير، وهو طبعا انا زي ما بقول هي المصيبه الكبيره ان هو مش لازم يبقى ظابط كبير ولا حاجه عشان خاطر يقدر يأذي الناس، وهي دي الكارثه الحقيقيه. بس هي الافوار اللي انا بتكلم فيها النظام بيستغلها في كده، انت قلت بقى ظابط كبير ومع ذلك هنحقق وهنعمل، والنيابه العامه مهتمه والرئيس مهتم بنفسه ومش عارف ايه، ومفيش حد فوق القانون. يستغلوا الكلام اللي اتقال اللي هو انا متاكد ان هو كلام مش مظبوط. ندخل بقى على قضيه حبيبه، برضو التفاصيل مش واضحه بالظبط هي، انما هي ركبت مع سواق اوبر وبعدين واضح ان هو رش حاجه او عمل حاجه وهي خافت، يعني هي تصورت ان هو بيرش مخدر او حاجه، راح نط من العربيه. طبعا ربنا يقومها بالسلامه، هي لسه في المستشفى لغايه دلوقتي. فكره ان هي نفس حاله الفوضى يعني اللي في كل حاجه، هي مش عارفه هو ده ايه، وهي عارفه كويس ان مفيش نظام، وده خلاص ده بقت حاجه اللاوعي بتاع كل المصريين ان مفيش حاجه اسمها قانون. لو حد ضربني ولا حد اغتصبني دي وارده جدا انها تحصل مع اي حد، خصوصا طبعا اكتر ناس بتعاني في مصر البنات والستات. طبعا الموضوع مأساوي بالنسبه لهم، انا شايف ان الستات اللي عايشين في مصر دول ابطال ان هم قادرين يعيشوا اصلا. الموضوع جزء من الفوضى العامه اللي موجوده. برضه انا حابب اوضح حاجه، هرجع كام سنه لورا للناس اللي ما حضرتش ثوره يناير. مشكله ثوره يناير بالنسبه للحاله الامنيه، الجرائم الامنيه اللي حصلت بعد ثوره يناير مش بقى مؤامره، والشرطه عموما كانوا مقموصين، كانت اكتر حاجه بتقال هم كانوا عايزين بقى يعاقبوا الناس فخلاص انسحبوا وعملوا. هي الحكايه كلها ان هي وزاره الداخليه كانت مخوخه اصلا، انهارت وخلاص ومحدش عارف يقول حاجه ومحدش عارف يعدي تعليمات، وهم ما عندهمش ادوات اصلا يشتغلوا بيها، فروحوا هربوا يعني طلعوا يجروا في الشارع. الموضوع ما كانش منظم ولا حاجه. بس ده عمل ايه بقى؟ وهي ده الموضوع الخطير. اللي بيرتكب جريمه اكتر حاجه في مصر على الاقل ترضعه ان هو ما يرتكبش الجريمه دي، ان هو متصور انه ما ينفعش، انه هو انا معقول يعني اروح ادخل على عماره كامله اسرقها؟ لا مش معقول، اكيد هتمسك، اكيد هيحصل حاجه. بالنسبه للمجرمين دي كانت حاجات بالنسبه لهم مش معقوله، انا مش معقول هدخل اسرق العماره بالكامل ولا اوقف حد من طبقه معينه. المجرمين نفسهم ان هو عارف ان هو انا في طبقات كده انا ما ينفعش اقرب لها، لان انا لو قربت له الدنيا هتتقلب عليا. فاللي حصل بعد 25 يناير الحاجز الوهمي ده انكسر، الطبيعه الاجراميه اختلفت، بقت الناس بتقدر تعمل كل حاجه، ولقوا ان هي ايه ده، ما هو ينفع اهو وما بيحصلش حاجه. ده اللي كان زود معدل الجرائم. طول عمر في جرائم كتير في مصر على فكره، انا ما بقولش ثوره يناير السبب ولا حاجه، النوعيه اختلفت شويه على فكره. مصر فيها جرائم ما حدش يتخيلها، انا بتكلم على قبل يناير خالص، اللي يشوف الاختراقات اللي بتيجي من مديريات الامن بكم مهول من الجرائم والملفات، حاجه فوق الخيال. وانا متخيل انها دلوقتي 10 اضعاف اللي كانت بتحصل ايام مبارك. عندك شركه ما فيش نظام عليها، شركه اوبر انت في مصر واضح جدا ان ما فيش اي نظام عليها، ما فيش اي رقابه، حتى هم نفسهم كمان مش خايفين. يعني اوبر لو حصل حاجه زي كده على فكره في امريكا مثلا كان زمان الدنيا اتقلبت، اوبر كانوا هيبقوا خايفين من حد هيقضيهم، هياخد ملايين. هو ما يهموش الناس، يعني الشركات عموما في اي حته في العالم ما يهموش الناس، هو يهمه هيخسر ايه وهيكسب ايه، ويهمه شكله العام. لو احنا كان عندنا نظام في مصر كانت اصلا الشركه كان هيشغل باله. حتى في امريكا مثلا في سكريننج، في رقابه على مين يدخل مين ما يدخل، يبقى في نظام بيمشي على الكل وبيساعد الكل في الاخر، وهو ده اللي احنا مفتقدينه في مصر.
بابا بوي
كلم اسره حبيب ده اولا، ده مش شغله ولا دوره اصلا، ولا هيبقى حاجه مفيده في حاجه، انما هو المهم ان هو يبقى في نظام، هو ده دوره الحقيقي، ان هو يبقى يخلق نظام في الدوله. وهو بالعكس طبعا هو دوره اللي هو بيعمله من يوم ما جه ان هو يخلق عدم النظام ده. الحاجه الملفته للنظر، احنا طبعا برضو تاني احنا مش عارفين هو ايه اللي حصل. بقى في التفاوت الكبير قوي ده ما بين طبقات كتير. يعني الاول مثلا احنا ايام زمان كان في تفاوت كبير قوي ما بين 5% اللي هم فوق خالص خالص، اللي هم ما يعرفوش اي حاجه، عن 30-40% عايشين يعني في قاع المجتمع اللي المفروض يعني وفقا للكلام اللي بيتقال ان السواق ده بينتمي لطبقه ال 30%. المشكله بقى الحقيقيه ان احنا دلوقتي بقى عندنا 80% او 70% هم دول القاع، وبقى في مثلا 5% زي ما هم برضو ما اتغيروش، وبقى 10% في النص. الطبقات ديت منقطعه تماما عن بعضها. فهو فعلا على فكره ممكن يكون ما كانش بيعمل حاجه، احنا مش عارفين هو ايه اللي بيحصل. احنا ما بنستفدش حتى من القوانين الديكتاتوريه اللي عندنا. يعني مثلا في امريكا ما يقدرش يجبر السواق ولا حتى كمان الركاب هيوافقوا على حاجه زي كده. مفيش حاجه اسمها ان انا اجبره انه يحط كاميرا، دي حاجه تقريبا شبه مستحيل ان هو هتحصل. بس احنا دوله قمعيه ودوله ديكتاتوريه. انا اقدر اجبر السواق انه يحط كاميرا وكل حاجه، بس هو ده اكبر مش مصلحتهم خالص ان هو يعمل حاجه زي كده، لان دي هتعك الدنيا عليهم، هتحط قيود عليهم وهو مش عايز القيود دي. الفجوه الكبيره اللي ما بين الطبقات دي انا شايف ان هو ده السبب الحقيقي، وهو ده سواء بقى بقصد او بغير قصد هو ده اللي عمله خلي الناس دي بعيد عن الناس دي. في 20-30% من المصريين عايشين كويس في اسباب كتير، في منهم 10-15% دول القريبين قوي، انما في ناس عايشين كويس. يعني الطبيعي ده بقى هو ده الاستثناء. الحياه الطبقه المتوسطه بقى هو ده الاستثناء للاسف في مصر، بقى ده مش طبيعي. فهي البنت يا عيني شافت المنظر، هي مرعوبه مش عارفه هو ده ايه. طبعا هي في خيالها الحاجات اللي بتحصل، وطبعا هي معذوره 100% من كل اللي هي بتسمعه وبتشوفه كل يوم، وعارفه ان ده وارد انه يحصل وان هو حقها يروح زيها زي اي حد تاني. كل الناس حقوقها بتروح، يعني اشمعنى هي اللي حقها اللي هيرجع؟ فطبعا عملت تصرف طبيعي جدا ومنطقي جدا ان هي تحاول تنقذ نفسها. طبعا للاسف الموضوع جاب نتيجه عكسيه، ده نتيجه الفوضى. انا ده رايي انا، ان انا شايف ان كل الناس ضحايا. يعني السواق ده ضحيه، حبيبه ضحيه، نيره ضحيه، الضباط والعساكر كل الناس دي ضحايا لنظام، لآلة قمعيه في الاخر المتحكمه في كل الكلام ده. انما كل واحد شايف نفسه ان هو بس اللي ضحيه. حاجات كتير قوي، ازاي اوبر يشغل واحد عنده سوابق جنائيه، واحد مش عارف عامل ايه مخدرات، مع ان نفس الناس دي عارفه كويس قوي ان اصلا 3/4 القضايا المعموله تلفيق. هو ما بصلهاش بالطريقه دي، هو شاف ايه؟ ان هو ممسوك في قضيه مخدرات. الناس تعاطفت قوي مع البنت، وطبعا الناس عندها حق، البنت لسه في عمر الشباب زهره، وفجاه عمرها راح، او حالتها احنا مش عارفين اللي ممكن يحصل لها. مش عارف الموضوع انا بتكلم ده فيه مثاليه زياده ولا الكلام اللي انا بقوله ده منطقي. ليه افترضت الناس كلها ان القضيه دي حقيقيه وان هو مش المفروض يسوق؟ وحتى لو حقيقيه معنى كده انه يموت من الجوع. لو انت حطيته في القالب ده ان هو ده راجل معمول قضيه مخدرات، اللي هو اصلا نص 3/4 المصريين بيشربوا مخدرات يعني للاسف في ظروف الهباب اللي احنا فيها دي، فانت ليه حطيته في القالب ده ان هو طالما اتعمل له قضيه مخدرات مره خلاص يطلع بقى يشتغل بقى حرامي، ما يشتغلش بقى سواق ويتعامل مع البنات ويتعامل مع الناس. اختلال المنظومه كلها هي دي المشكله الكبيره. يعني هو ده اللي انا عايز اوصل له. كل الناس اللي في مصر بتعاني بسبب اختلال المنظومه دي، والموضوع على فكره مش صعب خالص، سهل جدا ان احنا نعدل المنظومه، لان هي منظومه مدمره دلوقتي. ان انت تعدل المنظومه الى حد ما ترجعها يا سيدي شبه دوله زي ما كانت قبل كده، مش طمعانين في اكتر من كده.
Here's the Uber incident in a nutshell.
فحب يخضها، فراح متلبس البيبان ومتلبس الازاز بتاع العربيه وطلع ازازه من ضد العربيه، دول ازازه البايفان بتاعته، وبخ على البنت. فهي خافت، افتكرت ان انا مديها مخدر، فقامت نفسها من العربيه. ده اللي هو بيقوله. هي كانت طلبت اوبر من البيت عندها وراحت علشان خاطر تقابل اصدقائها في التجمع. فوجئنا ان شاهد عيان اصحابها كانوا بيكلموها عشان خاطر يسالوا هي فين اتاخرت ليه. رد عليها قال لهم انا بنت صاحبه الموبايل ديت مرميه في الشارع واقعه من العربيه، كان في مشاجره في العربيه، ومره واحده لقينا البنت دي وقعت من العربيه وقامت رجعت، وبعد ما رجعت اغمى عليها. هي طبعا قعدت تلف في الشارع واتخبطت حجره او في حاجه، الله اعلم برضه. لا شاهد العيان اللي وداها المستشفى، وداها مستشفى الشروق العام، وكلمت موقف صعب، المخ اتحرك من مكانه ونزيف داخلي جامد ويشح المخ. حددوا بالظبط ان هم يعني حتى يقدروا يعملوا عمليه، قالوا مش هنقدر لان الدم مش عايز يقف، وعايز ربنا وربنا يسترها ويتوفي كل الجميع. مش عارفين والله الحقيقه فين لغايه دلوقتي. يعني طبعا البنت فاقده الوعي تماما.
In my opinion, the driver is at fault for scaring the girl into doing this. I don't blame her for overreacting, as our guy said. If I were her as a girl, I'd be shitting myself too, and I don't know what I could do in the panic. Nobody gets to judge her for it. And on a side note, the media blurred the driver's face, because he's a guy, I guess. See what I meant when I said they side against the girl? And naturally, this has its very real consequences.
تاني مرة اجي اركب اوبر ولما يعرف ان انا بنت يقول لي لا معلش هحولك لحد تاني يا فندم. بجد انتوا شوية متخلفين خلاص. يعني الالتزام مقطع بعضه، ودي الحاجة النجسة الوحيدة اللي انت تعملها في حياتك يا متخلف. لو كانت اصلا حاجة غلط بجد مش عارفة اقول ايه. ده اللي تاني مرة اوبر يجي يتصل بيا وهو في الطريق اقول له حضرتك فين، يقول لي ايه ده هو حضرتك بنت؟ لا معلش مش بركب بنات معايا. ايه المرض النفسي ده؟ يعني اشحال ما مصر الاولى، القاهره، كايرو الاولى على العالم في التحرش، مش عايزين تركبوا بنات معاكم تكوني؟ لا ده انتوا لسه متشردين، ده انتوا لسه الشركه كلها مفتوحه، مش تحمدوا ربنا ان حد بيركب معاكم اصلا. فين الشركه انها تعمل عقاب لواحد زي كده يلغي الريكوست عشان واحده بنت؟ ايه الهبل ده؟ وانا هعمل لك ايه يعني يا متخلف انت؟ اي عطله وخلاص.
Some people generally don't want to ride with women because temptation and sin or whatever.
That's right. Nothing.
People in the West are fighting over how many genders there are, and we still have people who believe segregation between the two genders is the solution to everything.
How many genders are there?
I don't know. I just got here.
But this is not that. This is the fallout of the incident with Habiba, in my humble opinion. Nobody wants that heat. How was your dinner, sir? What did you? That was a shit sandwich, sir. It's the only thing we have on the menu right now. Would you like to leave a tip, sir?
Yes!